A street corner in downtown Las Vegas, June 13th, 1968. 104 degrees. Tommy Castellano sat in his folding chair at the corner of Fremont Street and 4th, same spot he'd occupied every Thursday and Saturday for 3 years. His guitar case lay open in front of him, a cardboard sign propped against it. Blind musician, God bless. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. He'd made $11.45 so far, enough for dinner at the diner down the street, maybe breakfast tomorrow if he was careful. He started playing Georgia on My Mind. Halfway through the second verse, someone sat down next to him. Not in front of him, where people usually stood to listen, next to him, close, maybe 3 feet away. Tommy kept playing. Then the stranger started humming along. The humming turned into words. The voice was good, really good, natural, like the person had been born singing. Tommy smiled. After 3 years playing alone on this corner, having someone join in felt like a gift. What Tommy couldn't see, couldn't possibly know, was that people were stopping. One person, then 5, then 50, then 200. They formed a circle around the two musicians, completely silent, watching something they knew was special, even if they couldn't explain why. Tommy could hear the crowd, but he had no idea why they weren't leaving. Then, after 20 minutes, his singing partner stood up, and everything changed. To understand why this moment mattered, you need to understand who Tommy Castellano was. He'd been blind since birth, 34 years old. He'd come west from Kentucky, looking for something he couldn't quite name. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but he could play guitar better than most people who could see. And his voice, rough around the edges but honest, had a quality that made people slow down. Most days he made just enough. Thursday, June 13th started like any other. He arrived at 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes early like always. By 3:30, his case held mostly quarters, a few dollar bills, 1.5. Then someone sat down without asking. Tommy adjusted his playing, making space for the stranger's voice. His fingers found a different pattern on the strings, supporting rather than leading. They sang together, Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find. Two voices blending in a way Tommy hadn't experienced since his church choir days back in Kentucky. What Tommy didn't know was what was happening around them. Within 2 minutes, 15 people stood watching. Within 5 minutes, 40. Within 10 minutes, nearly 200 people had stopped their entire lives to witness two men making music on a street corner.
A police officer radioed his partner to come see. 2 cocktail waitresses from the Golden Nugget stood with tears running down their faces. A businessman sat down on a bench, forgetting about the meeting he was already late for. People pulled out cameras. This was 1968. Cameras had film. You had to be careful when you used them, but people knew this was worth capturing. Tommy could hear all of it, the shuffling feet, the breathing, the whispers, but he couldn't understand it. Usually, people stopped for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, then they moved on. That was how street performing worked. These people weren't moving. After the 5th song, Tommy felt the stranger stand up. "Thanks for letting me play with you," the stranger said. His voice was warm, genuine. "I haven't done that in a long time. Just played because I wanted to, not because someone was paying me." Tommy smiled. "Any time, friend. You've got a gift. You should use it." The stranger laughed. "I try. Some days are better than others." There was a pause. "Dean, by the way." "Tommy," Tommy replied, extending his hand. "Dean Martin," the stranger said quietly. Tommy's hand froze in the handshake. His entire body went still. "What?" "Dean Martin, pal." Tommy's other hand came up, gripped the stranger's arm. "The Dean Martin?" "Yeah, pal." For 20 minutes, Tommy had been singing with Dean Martin. Dean Martin had been sitting on a curb next to him. Dean Martin had been singing harmony to his lead. "Why didn't you tell me?" Tommy's voice cracked. Would it have mattered? Tommy thought about that. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. "Exactly," Dean said softly. "I didn't want you to change, didn't want you to get nervous or start performing instead of just playing. What we just did, that was real. That was music for music's sake. That's rare, Tommy, really rare." Tommy could feel tears building behind his sightless eyes. Dean continued, "I make records, I perform in casinos, I make movies. I do all that because I'm lucky and because people like what I do. But most days, I'm not making music. I'm making product. I'm giving people what they paid for."
Dean paused. But just now, those 20 minutes, that was music. Pure music. Two guys who love songs, playing songs because they love them. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. "You could do it any time," Tommy said. "You're Dean Martin." "No," Dean said quietly. "Dean Martin can't do that. Dean Martin has contracts and managers and expectations. But Dean, just Dean, can sit on a curb next to a blind guitar player and sing Georgia on My Mind because it's a beautiful song." Tommy understood then. Dean Martin was trapped by his success in a way Tommy, with his $11.45, would never be trapped. The aftermath. Dean stood up. "Tommy, I'm going to have someone bring you something tomorrow. Don't argue about it. Just accept it, okay?" "What is it?" "A thank you for reminding me why I started singing in the first place." Then Dean was gone. Tommy heard footsteps moving away, heard the crowd part, heard people calling out, "Dean! Mr. Martin!" Then something happened Tommy never expected. Person after person approached him. A woman's voice, crying, "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Then another and another. 200 people filed past him one by one, leaving money and gratitude. When the street went quiet again, Tommy reached into his guitar case. His fingers touched paper, a lot of paper, bills, not coins, 20s, 50s, maybe hundreds. It took him 20 minutes to count. $2,774 from 20 minutes of playing music with a stranger. The full circle moment. The next day, a man in a suit arrived at Tommy's apartment. "Mr. Martin asked me to give you this." Tommy heard the sound of a case being set down. Hard case, big. "What is it?" "A Martin D45 guitar, one of the finest acoustic guitars ever made. Mr. Martin said you'd know what to do with it." Tommy opened the case with shaking hands. His fingers found the strings, touched the wood, an instrument that cost more than he'd made in the last 3 years combined. There was a note attached. The manager read it aloud. "Tommy, everyone should play an instrument that matches their talent. This guitar deserves someone who plays for love, not money. You keep being real. The world needs that more than it needs another Dean Martin. Your friend, Dean." Tommy Castellano kept playing on that corner for another 5 years, but after that day, people knew his name. The story of the blind musician who played with Dean Martin spread through Vegas like wildfire. People came specifically to hear him play, to leave money, to witness something real in a city built on illusion. Tommy made enough to move into a better apartment, to eat 3 meals a day, to save for the future. But every Thursday, he still sat on that same corner, still played from 2 p.m. until sundown, still kept his cardboard sign propped against his guitar case. Because he wasn't playing for money anymore. He was playing because Dean Martin had reminded him why music mattered. Years later, after Dean died in 1995, Tommy was asked by a reporter if he'd ever heard from Dean again. "No," Tommy said, "but I didn't need to. He gave me everything I needed in 20 minutes. He showed me that music isn't about who you are or who's listening. It's about the moment when two people connect through sound." The reporter asked one more question. "Do you still have the guitar he gave you?" Tommy smiled. "I play it every day. It's the finest instrument I've ever touched. But you know what the real gift was?" "What?" "For 20 minutes, I got to make music with someone who remembered what music was supposed to be. That's worth more than any guitar. That's worth everything." On Tommy Castellano's corner on Fremont Street, there's now a plaque. It reads, "Here in June 1968, blind musician Tommy Castellano and Dean Martin created 20 minutes of magic. They reminded Las Vegas that the best performances happen when no one's performing at all." Tommy died in 2003. He was buried with the Dean Martin guitar. The lesson isn't about fame or fortune. It's about remembering why you started in the first place. Dean Martin had everything Tommy didn't have: money, fame, recognition. But for 20 minutes on a street corner, Dean had what he'd been missing for years: the freedom to make music just because he loved it. And Tommy? Tommy had been doing that all along. Sometimes the richest person on the street corner is the one with nothing to lose.